T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and liftoff.
Welcome everyone to this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. I'm Sergeant Chelsea Weaver, and today, as promised, we are continuing with part 2 of last week's episode with Major General Robin Stilwell, the 30th Adjutant General of South Carolina, as well as Major Karla Evans, our Public Affairs Director, and we're continuing the conversation with General Stilwell, getting his insights on family and why it's so important to have family support, as well as leadership and advice for those who are currently serving, and so much more. So let's jump into part 2 of this episode with General Stilwell.
Sir, knowing what you know now and having the experiences that you've had, what advice would you give yourself as a first lieutenant?
My advice to myself as a first lieutenant, or any soldier, any officer in the South Carolina National Guard or in the Army writ large of the Department of Defense, is enjoy and appreciate where you are. I didn't realize just how much fun I was having as a first lieutenant and a captain. Just enjoy it. Appreciate not only what you're doing, but the relationships that you're making and the people that both are influencing you and that you are influencing as well. I would tell myself, don't worry about the next rank, the next job, the next grade. Appreciate where you are. If you work hard, you exercise good judgment, and you're honest, then those things will take care of themselves. And the important thing really at the end of the day is not, becoming a general officer. The important thing is making a difference. And if you serve a career in the military or in the South Carolina National Guard, regardless of what rank you attain, you've done something very important and very meaningful. You've made a significant selfless sacrifice, and that by any measure is a successful career, regardless of whether you retire as an E4 or as an 08. That's the measure of success, and that's what you should strive for.
So when we're wearing the uniform, a lot of our soldiers, airmen, service members, a lot of people think that it's just the service member who is like, that's their job, but they don't think about the people on the backside, so the families. And I know that at the change of command, you preached family. General McCarty always preaches family. Everybody preaches family. So kind of like going back into the personal side, how has your family supported you through this whole military career? Now you're the adjutant general. Also, too, you have a son who is an infantry officer. Like, how has your family supported you and got you to this point?
Yeah, we can't do it without people who are supporting us. You just absolutely 100% cannot do it. No man is an island. And I was in the Guard when I got married, and I've told my wife Charlotte any number of times that, hey, sorry, you married the Guard. But it's not that simple. Of course, at any point in time, she could have told me, no, it's too much. We don't need to do that. You've got 3 young children. You don't need to go to Afghanistan and spend a year in combat. But she's never questioned it. She's been very, very supportive about it. The families, in my estimation, really sacrifice more than the soldiers do. I know that when I was in Afghanistan and I was in combat, every single day when I woke up, I knew what I needed to do to stay safe and to stay alive and to keep my soldiers stay safe and alive. And I had some control over it. I had a task and purpose. I could do my PCCs, PCIs. I could make sure that everything that I had, all my weapon systems, my vehicles were operational, and the same for all the soldiers that were around me. I could select the routes. I could select the timings. I could direct fire. I could call for fire if I needed to. So I had control over my destiny to some degree. But your family back home has absolutely no control. They send you out the door. They put you on a plane. You go to wherever it is in the world, and they have no ability to affect or influence your safety and to help you succeed in your job. So I think that just being completely disempowered and being subject, to the vagaries of combat without the ability to affect or influence is a very, very difficult job. And I will tell you, I would not have traded places with her for anything. And that, of course, is on top of having 3 children at home. So the first deployment to Afghanistan, 5K, 3rd grade and 5th grade. So single mom with 3 small children, several different schools too. In the second deployment to Kosovo, it's 5th grade, 8th grade, and 10th grade. And again, it's 3 different schools, single mom, gone for over a year. The next deployment, go to Kuwait, and it's senior in high school, junior in college, and a young lady just out of school going out into her professional life. And doing that on your own as a single mother or a single parent is an incredibly difficult thing to do. So, she could have said, I'm not going to do it. It's too much. You're asking too much of me. But she never did. So she supported the family. She's the backbone of the family. I'll tell you just a quick little something about Charlotte. And if you were at the change of command ceremony, I did say very clearly that she's my hero. Because not only did she suffer through all of those deployments and sacrifice for me and for her family, she also sent her son into the Army as a 2nd lieutenant of infantry at Fort Benning, and he's just waiting to go to Ranger School. But she also does that as a Gold Star child. Her father died in Vietnam in October of 1969, and he died of wounds suffered in Laos as a Special Forces captain. She was 19 months old, 20 months old, so she grew up a casualty of war. And notwithstanding that experience, she still continues to serve and to sacrifice for the United States. So those are the kind of people that are standing behind us that really make everything happen. And I'm glad you asked me that question, because it is really personal to me, and to most soldiers it's personal as well. I know sometimes when you go into a setting and you're saying, we want to thank the families, some people may think that that's lip service, but it really isn't. We mean it. We mean it from the bottom of our hearts, because we've seen the service and sacrifice that they've made.
We were at the change of command ceremony listening to the way that you were speaking about your wife. And I couldn't help but text my husband so that he can watch the video, because he just needs to know that, a lot of sacrifices and a lot of work went into supporting his career as well. Mm-hmm. And as far as your son being an infantry officer, did you coach him to go into the infantry? Did you kind of talk to him since he was little, and maybe even influence him into joining the military, and especially the infantry? Or was that kind of his own idea, his own thing?
Let's just say yes and no. Okay. I hope that I served as an example to him. And of course, I always say in jest to anybody within earshot, there are only 2 branches in the Army, and that is infantry and everybody who works for the infantry. So he's probably heard that about 1 million times. I've always told him the benefits of belonging, but that he could make his own decision. And he called me about a lot of branches, and I'd say, that's a great branch. You really get great experience. It's meaningful. It's valuable. But they work for the infantry. So the reason I think he came in is not because that I modeled it or I convinced him. I think the reason he came into the military is because when he was about 9 years old, I was coming back from a drill. I came home, I was hungry. I said, come on, Joseph, let's go to Waffle House. And he and I went to Waffle House, and we sat down and we ate, and I asked for the check after we were done, and the waitress said, oh, your check has already been paid for. And he looked up wide-eyed like, Daddy, what just happened? And I said, well, somebody paid for our check for our meal. And he said, well, why would somebody do that? And I said, well, because people appreciate service, and they appreciate what the United States military does, and that we sacrifice to ensure freedom. And he heard all that, but that didn't register. What registered to him is, wow, so if I'm in the Army, I'll get free Waffle House. So I think Waffle House, free Waffle House is what caused him to come in.
Nice. Sir, I have seen, I don't want to say it's a trend, but I have seen a lot of senior enlisted and officers, and their children are now stepping up to the plate and joining the military, whether it's the National Guard or active duty component. It seems as though a lot of parents are having to watch their child, right, take that oath and deploy and be away. What advice would you give those parents that are navigating their babies going to and joining the military?
Well, the first thing I do is say, be proud. You know, they're taking a step that, 1% or less of the population elects to take. So they should really be proud that they've decided to serve. And then also what I'd tell them is be happy that your young son or daughter has taken a step that is really going to broaden their horizons significantly. Give them the opportunity to go places they would never otherwise have the opportunity to go, to meet people they would never otherwise have the opportunity to meet, and have educational opportunities that they may never have the opportunity to have. I will tell you that the greatest experience or the greatest decision that I've ever made was coming into the military, because of all of those things that I just articulated. I've been around the world. I've met interesting, incredible, impressive people that I never would have met, and had experiences that I never would have otherwise had. I can honestly say, and I tell formations this all the time, that I have received more from the military than I have given. And I truly believe that, because it's an experience that has really been fulfilling and has broadened my life in ways I never could have imagined.
As far as those places that you've traveled,
Yes, ma'am.
is there one specific place or one memory that stands out to you more than others?
Other than drinking beer in Munich?
Yes, sir.
Every once in a while, you get a gift of TDY every once in a while. So, yeah, all the deployments were very meaningful, and they really were at different phases of my career, and I learned a lot from each of them. For me, the most meaningful one really was Afghanistan. I was an embedded team trainer with the Afghan National Army, and I was there with a small team of Americans, 15 of us, and we embedded with an Afghan infantry battalion. And I really got to validate all of the training that I had had. So at that time, I was 41 years old, right? So I started ROTC when I was 18. So I had been training in the woods, on the ranges, at NTC, all over the United States, and never had really had the opportunity to put all of that training into practice. And someone likened it to, being a golfer, but only ever getting to go to the driving range and the putting greens. And then all of a sudden you have the opportunity to play a round of golf. That's really the way it felt to me. As a professional infantryman, I had the opportunity to put all of that training to work. And the thing that was remarkable to me is that training did work. It was remarkable. The best warriors on the face of the earth are members of the United States military. And that's because we're trained to react by and through battle drills at the tactical level. And all of those battle drills don't mean a whole lot to you until you actually get in a firefight and you are ambushed. And all of a sudden, American infantrymen, American soldiers of every stripe go into business mode. And I never saw anyone who was apoplectic, who had a sense of crisis. In each and every instance, it was, okay, what do I have to do? What does my training tell me? And I can tell you, for the most part, everyone's blood pressure was pretty much consistent, probably a little bit elevated. And we did what we had to do. Now, when you got back, all of a sudden you started thinking about it, and your blood pressure elevates and you become a little bit more animated. But what was remarkable to me really was that the training worked, the battle drills worked, and that the American soldier was ready to prosecute those mission sets, no questions asked.
Yes, sir. Is there anything else that you would like to offer us here toward the end of the podcast? Anything that you'd like to say to your soldiers, or like a shout out to a senior NCO that you might have known a long time ago?
Well, so haven't I said enough? I mean, haven't I said, you might have to distribute this in 2 parts. I feel like I've said so much. No, I don't. There's no particular individual, because there have been so many individuals who have been important to me. And if I pick out one, then I'm going to leave out, 500 more. Right. So I don't want to shout out to any one individual, but I will say to all of the soldiers with whom I've served, thank you for helping make me the officer that I am, because, I am a product of a community of soldiers, a community of leaders, a community of warriors. And I wouldn't be here but for the good work, the mentorship, the leadership, the care and concern of people, of leaders, of soldiers, of friends who have influenced my life.
Thank you for that, sir. Well, thank you so much for being here and speaking with us today. I know that you're really busy, and you took that time to be here, and really, if somebody can say anything about you, is that you're really honest, and you actually really do care for your soldiers, and you mean everything that those priorities stand for. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. It was my pleasure.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Palmetto Guardian. We hope you all enjoyed this conversation with Major General Stilwell. I also want to give a shout out to Major Karla Evans, our Public Affairs Director, for joining me in this conversation and helping co-host. It was a pleasure, ma'am, and we hope to have you back soon. As Major General Stilwell continues to serve and lead, we look forward to the progress ahead and the continued strength of the South Carolina National Guard under his guidance. And a big thank you to everyone for tuning into the Palmetto Guardian. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.